He almost killed me, yet I still love him. 𝐻𝐸 my mate, but 𝐻𝐸 furious at me for killing a wolf from his pack. Chapter 28. More hunters. She managed between labored breaths, her eyes wide with urgency. They're bringing in more hunters to completely wipe you guys out. Chase's protective instincts flared as he processed the information. His gaze locked on 𝐊𝐢𝐬's shimmering brown eyes. I think you should come inside, he said, his voice low and authoritative. As they entered the pack house, they had barely reached the bottom of the stairs when Lily appeared from the kitchen, her steps faltering at the sight of 𝐊𝐢𝐬. Her eyes, filled with hurt and resentment, darted between Chase and 𝐊𝐢𝐬. What's going on? Why is she here? She can speak for herself, 𝐊𝐢𝐬 interjected, her voice tinged with remorse. And Lily, I want to say I'm sorry. Also, I want you to know that the friendship between us was fake to me. Lily's posture stiffened, her voice cold and direct. And to me, you weren't a hunter. With that, she strode out of the room, leaving 𝐊𝐢𝐬 to sigh beside Chase. The pack leader met 𝐊𝐢𝐬's eyes, noting the small, uncertain smile she offered. He led her up the stairs and down the hall to his office, while Luke, Josh, 𝐿𝐢𝐳, and 𝐖𝐴ZEA, the pack warrior leader, stood huddled around the desk. Chase cleared his throat, drawing their attention. Luke's eyes narrowed dangerously as he took in 𝐊𝐢𝐬's presence, his suspicion palpable. What the hell is she doing here? He spat, eliciting a reflexive growl from Chase. Are you sure that the bond is the only reason? Chase's wolf murmured, causing his eye to twitch. As 𝐊𝐢𝐬 stepped forward, Chase instinctively blocked her with his arm. 𝐊𝐢𝐬 is here to help give us more information about the hunters, he explained, his tone leaving no room for argument. Gosh, his skepticism evident. Challenged. Why would you do that? You want us dead. You are a hunter. 𝐊𝐢𝐬 shook her head, pain etched across her features. I don't want to be anymore. It's wrong. Killing your kind in cold blood. I mean, after being here, 𝐿𝐢𝐬 realized that you're a human too. Sounds like a rehearsed speech to me. 𝐿𝐢𝐬𝐬 snarled, taking an aggressive step forward with clenched fist. Chase shot him a pointed look, silently warning him to stand down. 𝐊𝐢𝐬 rolled her eyes, her voice laced with frustration. So you think that I would run all the way here? Tell Chase a lie to get me in for what? A distraction while the rest of the hunters attack everyone else and leave me to take care of everyone here. Chase stiffened, recognizing the plausibility of such a plan. Because that's not what's happening here, believe it or not. I actually care for some people here and would rather not see their heads separated from their bodies. The tension in the room was palpable as Chase weighed 𝐊𝐢𝐬's words against the potential threat she posed. His instincts as both a leader and a mate conflicting within him. I find that hard to believe. Luke shot at her. Listen, I interrupted, trying to prevent things from getting even more heated. Either way, 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐬 has some information that can help us that I'm sure she is more than willing to share. Right. She gave me a side glance before nodding. Yeah, of course. I sat down in my chair and everyone followed suit, leaving 𝐊𝐢𝐬 standing. She cleared her throat. Well, first things first, they're bringing in more hunters. A lot more, from what I've gathered. They're bringing in every available team. The boss really wants all of you dead for some reason. I'm sorry, the boss? Josh questioned, and I nodded, agreeing with it. What the hell was she talking about? Right? You would know about, anyways, the boss is the guy who signs our checks. 𝐻𝐸𝐻 the one who decides where we go. When we start hunting. 𝐻𝐸𝐻 the boss because 𝐻𝐸𝐻's in charge of everyone, she stated, then continued. Hunters, we're like a business or a company. We follow orders from our higher-ups, like managers. And the boss. 𝐻𝐸𝐻 the general manager or the owner. Even. He is in charge of it all and without him, there is no hunter organization. But he's a bit of a ghost, a legend if you will. No one's ever really seen him or met him. Only spoken of him. Luke rolled his eyes. Sounds like a bunch of bullshit to me. That's probably you listening to yourself. She shot at him before digging right back into her briefing. The hunters will wait it out for at least another week to gather everyone, stake out the area and lull you into a false sense of security and safety. It's typical. And then, with numbers as big as this, they'll probably launch 2 major attacks. The first will probably just be meant to hurt you more than anything and corral you all into just 1 or 2 locations. Then they'll swoop in for the kill to end it all. Pleasant. Luke grunted, a scowl on his face. She shrugged. Never said we were nice. He said hunters have already started showing up. How many? And how many more can we expect? How long do we have? I asked. With a sigh, Haley sat down. I wish I knew. Today 1 team showed up, which means there are 5 new hunters in town. I don't know how many more we can expect, but it's sure to be around 1 hunters here. And if you're all hidden in trees without a scent and heavily armed, I trailed off. You won't stand a chance. She finished for me. So what do we do? Josh asked. I mean, if we can't smell them or see them hidden in the trees, then how the hell do we fight them? You train. Haley answered for me. You can learn the smell of the masking spray. It's not perfect. It leaves a trace of the chemicals used in it. And don't let yourself get lured into anywhere where you're not on the high ground. Hunters love their high ground. Luke was still scowling at Haley as he spoke. And how do you propose we learn the scent of something that we don't have? It'll help you, she stated with fierce determination. Starting now. Haley looked up to me, the question in her eyes, and I understood as if I was reading it off of a page in a book. The words bolded and printed in an extra large font. Do you trust me now? Swallowing the small lump that had begun forming in my throat. I nodded once. All right. Call a pack meeting. We have a lot to go over. The 3 left the room immediately, leaving Haley and I alone. Finally, I addressed the elephant in the room. Why are you helping me? Helping us. I told you already. She responded, standing up and making her way to the door. I care about some people here, and you just so happen to be one of them. Chapter 29. Haley. Have you ever done something that seemed like a good idea at the time until you get deeper into the situation and realize you're fucked? Yeah, that's me right now, standing in a room with Chase, Luke, Lily, Rebecca, Josh and Isaiah. I could barely keep my breathing under control. Why did I come here? Why was I doing this? Because it's the right thing to do. I told myself even though I knew it was the truth. The truth is I've begun to fall head over heels for Chase and there's nothing I can do to stop it. How do we learn the scent of the masking spray? Lily spoke her first words to me since before everyone found out who I was. I breathed in. As werewolves, you're trained to follow a scent. To let a distinct scent lead you to your target. The masking spray emanates a trackable scent. However, it does have a weakness. If you follow the lack of a scent, you can find a hunter. As a hunter moves, they leave a trail of the spray behind them. It only lasts for a few hours until it wears off and you need to reapply. Pulling out the small bottle from my pocket, I tossed it to her and she caught it easily, popping the lid off and smelling it. It doesn't smell like anything, she stated flatly. Nodding, I held my head out and she handed it back, aiming the nozzle at my wrist. I spritzed it and held my arm out. Go ahead, take a whiff. Chase was the only one to step forward, meeting my eyes with his guarded ones before taking my arm and gently placing his nose against my wrist, breathing in the scent. Pulling back, he looked at me with a confused expression. It smells metallic, almost like blood. I finished for him and he nodded. That's because it is. There are iron ions in the chemical mixture, meaning that when it makes contact with the skin, it seeps through the pores and mixes in with our blood system, enhancing the iron supply in our bodies. So that's the scent you should follow, blood and iron. Everyone around the room nodded in understanding and sniffed. picking up on the scent on my wrist. Luke sneered at me. How come I never smelled it when I came up to the scene of your victims? Instead of replying snark 𝐿𝐤𝐬𝐲 angrily, I gave a calm and factual answer. Because you didn't know what to smell for, and the iron and blood blended in with the werewolf-fest blood. So how can we tell the difference between blood and the masking spray? Josh questioned. Sighing, I pulled my red switchblade from my pocket and cut a small section on the side of my hand. Smell the difference. After a few moments, they all began to nod. I think that's good for now, Chase said, and not wanting to argue with their alpha. Everyone left, leaving Chase and I alone. He took my hand in his, assessing the minor slice in my hand. Frowning, he took my other hand and tugged me behind him, out of the room, down the hall and into what was obviously his room. Chase led me up to his bed, ordered me to sit and walked into the bathroom, leaving me with nothing to do but obey his command. Sitting on the edge of the bed, I tried not to think about how soft and fluffy the mattress was. Chase came back into the room, a small white box in his hand with a red cross on the top, a first aid kit. He held my hand gingerly in his, wiping it clean of the blood. I sighed. Chase, I'm fine. Really? You don't need to tend to me, it's okay. He looked at me, a struggling expression on his face. But I want to. Smiling, I nodded and let him get to work. He gently cleaned the cutout with an alcohol wipe before beginning to gingerly wrap my hand in gauze. As he did so, my mind began to wander back to the little yellow house that was surely by now being overrun by men whose testosterone levels were brimming over the edge. I thought about how they would attack this pack and along with it the people I've grown to care about for some reason, especially Chase. And I thought of how if they can't learn everything I have to teach them, they'll all end up dead at the hands of the rest of the hunters, and he'll probably end up in that burning fire with them. I didn't realize I was crying until Chase wiped the tear off my cheek. Are you okay? Does it hurt that bad? Shaking my head. I smiled. No, sorry, I was just thinking, that's all. Thinking about what? He questioned, sliding up onto the bed next to me. A lot. Too much. I answered vaguely. I guess I'm just scared is all. And I'm not really used to feeling like this. I haven't felt real fear like this since my parents. My voice broke as I mentioned them. My parents. What would they think of me now? If they could see me helping the beings that killed them. But no, I told myself. Chase and his pack had nothing to do with their deaths. Alpha Jake did. And I already killed him. He hushed me, whispering as he took my face in both hands. Shay, look at me. Haley, look at me. I did as I was told. You have every reason to be scared right now. Hell, I'm fucking terrified. But we're all strong here. And we'll make it through this okay. You don't know that, I retorted. Chase nodded. You're right. I don't. And we sat there for a while, my face held in his hands, staring into his light crystal eyes, until he moved forward, pressing his lips to mine. It was soft and gentle at first, like the whisper of the leaves rustling in the light breeze of a mild autumn day. As time went on, it deepened into a flurried frenzy like a blizzard as the kiss changed like the seasons. He pulled back panting and laid me down on the bed, hovering over me. I'm so fucking done being gentle with you. Good, I replied in a deep whisper, before tugging him by his shirt back into me, once again locking our lips in a heated synchronization. Chapter 30. She drives me so fucking crazy. I can't stand being with her. But damn, I can't stand not being with her either. She just makes my life a living hell. A speeding roller coaster whipping me around in every direction with new twists and turns every day. In case it was obvious, the she I'm referring to is Haley. She pulled her lips back away from mine and we were both breathing heavily, though our faces were still mere inches apart. Her shirt was strewn somewhere else in my room along with my own tea. Haley was exquisite. That much was evident to me. She was toned with 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐵S along her abdomen, and while her breasts were at double DS, they seemed like the perfect fit for her. And no matter what her body looked like under her clothes, she was still my mate. and she will still always be the one and only perfect match for me. I think we should probably stop, she whispered lowly, her hot breath fanning my face as she did so. Slowly pulling myself off her, I let her sit up so that we sat next to each other again. This time me in just my pants and her in just her bra and leggings. A silence settled between the two of us, and it was surprisingly easy. There was no tension or anger anymore. It seemed as though being together had dissipated all of the trouble between the two of us. Sadly, that wasn't 100% true, considering that she still is a hunter and is still responsible for the deaths of so many of my pack members. How she is going to become an accepted and loved Luna by the rest of the pack is beyond me, but perhaps it would come with time. 𝐿 sighed. So that happened? Yeah, it did. I nodded in agreement. Well, did you like it? She questioned 𝐾𝐞𝐬 softly. It was actually hard for me to picture her as a bloodthirsty hunter and the best one in the country. At that, looking at her so naked. Not even in the physical sense, but the emotional kind broke me. She looked so weak and frail and scared, as though she had already lost everything, which in a way she sort of has. It nearly killed me to look at her like that. The only glimmer left in her eyes was the hope that shined when she looked up at me, biting her bottom lip innocently as she asked me that question. Bowing my head down, I placed a light feather kiss on her lips before giving her my quiet answer, yes. She smiled and tucked a stray hair behind her ear, laughing slightly, a light melodious tune that was like music to my ears. Fuck. Whipped, interrupting us. A knock came at the door and she jumped, scrambling across the room to slip her shirt on over her head. Sighing, I made my way to the door, opening it to reveal an anxious-looking Lily, who was tugging at the hem of her shirt, a very uncharacteristic thing of her to do. She gave me a scrutinizing look before letting out a breath. I want to talk to 𝐿𝐿. Alone. I nodded. Okay. Stepping out into the hall, I gestured towards my room and, hesitantly, she entered, closing the door behind her, frowning at my own bare torso. I shrugged before jogging downstairs and into the kitchen, snatching an apple from the fruit bowl and biting into it. The sound of the crisp and echoing for a few moments. As I continued my eating, my mind wandered to things all about 𝐿𝐿. Her hair, her smile, her laugh, her tears, her knife, her secret identity, everything. The good and the bad, the yin and the yang. She was both yang, the happy, positive light in my life, as well as the yang, the dark, negative and heavy aspect in my life. She is the good and the bad, and the good and came together in equilibrium. The only question left is, do I still love her with the bad? Despite my doubts and my fears, I knew the answer. I could hear my wolf chanting it loud and clear, and my subconscious agreed with him, yes. A high door opening reached my ears, and Lily and 𝐿𝐿 came into the kitchen, both with puffy red eyes and tear trails down their cheeks. The only source of happiness were the small smiles on their faces and their interlocked hands, which sort of made me jealous. Damn, I seriously need to find my masculinity. Wherever it is, I dropped it. Did you two work everything out? I questioned. 𝐿𝐿 simply nodded while Lily exclaimed, yep. We are best 𝐼𝐸s again. Which means if you hurt her in any way, I will chop you into itty bitty pieces and feed you to the rogues. At that, 𝐿𝐿 chuckled. Well, I just swallowed, because I was at least 90 sure she wasn't even joking about that. Clearing my throat, I decided to move past that. All right. So now that that is out of the way, what should we do for dinner? Pizza? Lily exclaimed. 𝐿𝐿 scrunched her nose as I saw out of the corner of my eyes, and I knew that meant she didn't want pizza. Whenever she wanted to say no but couldn't, I would always see her scrunch up her nose like that. I shook my head. No, not pizza. She sighed in defeat before jumping up. Why don't you make your world-famous lasagna? At Lilith's mention of my Italian cooking skills, she perked up and I smiled. Yeah, sure. I'll make the lasagna if you make the homemade garlic bread. My sister grinned, nodding. You got it. She then turned to 𝐿𝐿. So, do you want to help me with the garlic bread or work with Chase on the lasagna? Her eyes flickered over to me for a second before answering. I think you'll stick with Chase on this one. I'm better with pasta. Lily shrugged. Okay. Well, I'm going to the store to pick up some ingredients. See ya. She left the two of us alone in the kitchen and I smiled at her. So, how did it go? 𝐊𝐲 walked over to me and wrapped her arms around my waist and laid her head on my chest, catching me off guard. I reacted quickly, though, and pulled her into me as my arms circled her small waist. She sighed into me. It was good. We argued. We cried and then we laughed. She understood. Eventually. I'm glad. I mumbled into her hair, placing a kiss on the top of her head. It was the truth. I was just overall happy with 𝐊𝐲 right now. Even after what she did. What she lied about. She made me happy. And maybe it's the fact that I know there are no more secrets between us anymore. But I feel closer to her than ever. And it's not just because we're basically cuddling while standing right now. Although that could be part of it. Pulling away, I grabbed a box of lasagna noodles from the pantry and turned back at her, holding it up. Come on. Time to make some lasagna. Chapter 31, 𝐊𝐲. It was quiet as we worked side by side, me browning the meat and Chase, stirring the sauce. Occasionally we bumped into each other, but we just continued working through it, not really acknowledging it. It was nice and peaceful. Even, of course, something had to ruin our peace, and that something happened to be the shrill ringing of a cell phone. Jumping, I sighed before setting down my spoon and digging my phone out from my back pocket, answering it without looking at the caller ID. Hello. 𝐊𝐲, where the hell are you? I mentally groaned and threw my head back, ignoring Chase's quizzical expression, and instead kept my cool. Responding, why does it matter? Joel, because no one has seen you since yesterday and there have been some interesting developments, he said, choosing his words carefully at the end. I furrowed my brow. What on earth was he talking about? What interesting developments? I questioned, using his exact words. He sighed and his voice lowered, as though he didn't want anyone to overhear him as he spoke. They're calling everyone in. Even the boss is coming. I stilled in shock. No one is 100% sure that Ethan exists, yet he is supposedly due to make an appearance here. Finally, I managed to choke out a response. The boss. Joel responded impatiently. Yes, now tell me where you are. I left. I lied quickly. Needed some space. How far are you? He asked. Not too far. A motel a couple hours out. It'll leave now. I responded, the falsity slipping through my mouth with ease. He seemed to believe me without a second thought, though higher deception by 𝐊𝐲𝐬, and agreed before hanging up the phone. Sighing, I slipped the phone back into my pocket and looked up at Chase, who looked like he was trying not to look guilty but looked even more guilty in doing so. You listened in, didn't you? He nodded. So, the boss. 𝐻ES coming. I thought you said he was a myth of sorts. Up until now he was. I answered, looking down trying to get my head to wrap around it. That guy. Chase started. He said that they're calling everyone in. How many is everyone? Exactly. Looking up at him. His face fell as I gave him a pained expression. At least 200. Fuck. He swore, spinning on his heel and throwing the wooden spoon that was in his hand across the room, lodging it in the wall, sticking out horizontally. He dragged a hand down his face, his brows creased with worry. Edging towards him, I wrapped my arms around him and laid my head on his chest in an attempt to calm him down. At first he remained still under my touch, until eventually he relaxed slightly and pulled me impossibly closer as he hugged me. I whispered softly, "It's gonna be okay." At that, he pulled back slightly, gripping my arms and looking down at me. "How is this going to be okay? 𝐊𝐲?" "How? Because I know you," I answered, reaching up and resting my hand gently on his cheek. "And you don't go down without a fight. Chase Morgan." You will kick and punch and scratch your way through the thickest battle and emerge unscathed. Besides, you have the upper hand and a secret weapon all in one. And what is that? He questioned. Me, I responded, before pushing up on my toes and pressing my lips to his. He responded immediately, grabbing my hips roughly and placing my ass firmly on the counter. I wrapped my legs around his torso tightly, allowing my hands to roam freely through his luscious curls. His hands traveled all over my body, eventually settling under my butt as he lifted me up off the counter, spinning and pinning me up against the wall. The kiss growing rougher and more by the second. It was all-consuming, and in that moment nothing else mattered. Just his lips on mine, moving in a synchronized frenzy, as though we both had everything left to lose and yet everything to gain. He pulled back to catch a breath and we were both panting, his forehead resting against mine. You're absolutely right. 𝐊𝐢𝐬, you are a weapon. You bring me to my goddamn knees. I laughed lightly, but he cut me off by pressing his lips against mine, prying mine apart and letting his tongue slowly explore my own mouth, dancing with my own tongue as he pushed me against the wall even more. It probably hurt, but I was too busy to notice. He distanced himself from my lips, peppering light feathery kisses across my jaw and down my neck, earning a slight moan from me that I cowed and stopped before it escaped my lip. He stayed there for a while, hovering before kissing it again. I moaned once more, this time a little louder. Chase looked back to me. That's the spot, the one where I'll mark you someday. Not today, I questioned. He let go of my hips, letting me slide down slowly until I was standing in front of him, pulling me in. He placed a kiss on my forehead. No, not today. Not yet. But someday. And hopefully someday soon. Okay. I agreed, leaning into him again. All I wanted to do was stay like this, safe and warm in his arms, happiness dancing through my veins and pumping through my entire body. But of course, I had to get back to the yellow house, which was sure to be completely filled with hunters now, awaiting the arrival of everyone else as well as the guest of honor, the boss. Letting out a sigh, I pulled back. I should probably go. I need to figure this mess out. He nodded, but didn't make a move to let me out of his embrace. Chuckling, I looked up. In order for me to leave, you're going to have to let me go. I don't want to let go, he stated and pulled me in even tighter. Looking up at him, I smiled. Don't worry, you'll come back. I promise. With that, he reluctantly let me go, the look of uncertainty evident on his face. I walked out the door without looking back because I knew that, if I did turn around, I never would have left his side. Chapter 13. Hello. Earth to chase. Luke snapped in front of my face, bringing me out of my trance. I cleared my threat. Oh, sorry. Could you possibly repeat what you were saying? He threw me a look of dismay before diving into his speech again. It's not that I don't trust 𝐊𝐿𝐬. Chase. Because I know 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐿𝐬 and you two are madly in love, but how do we know 𝐊𝐿𝐬's telling the truth? What if 𝐊𝐿𝐬's luring all of us into a trap and we all end up dead? Shaking my head, I clapped my hand on his shoulder. 𝐊𝐿𝐬's not like that, man. Yeah, and you didn't think she was like Artemis either. He shot back. I rolled my eyes. You just don't like her because she took your masculinity away. She beat you and your guys so bad. And now you're pissed because she made you look weak. You lost your masculinity and you don't know how to get it back. So you're being extra cautious around her in case it happens again. He scoffed. I know that. Shut up. Laughing, I clapped a hand on his shoulder. Listen, Luke, 𝐊𝐿𝐬𝐬 is my mate. She is amazing. And she was Artemis. But 𝐊𝐿𝐬's on our side now and you need to accept it as well as her help. We won't get anywhere with everyone going against her. We wouldn't be in this mess if it wasn't for her. Either, he retorted, scowling. Just nothing but a heartless, cold, blood-thirsty bitch. A low growl erupted from my chest and my grip on his shoulder tightened, bringing him down to his knees in front of me. Don't you ever talk about my mate that way. Do you hear me? She is your soon-to-be Luna, for fuck's sake. Show some goddamn respect. My claws were elongated at this point, digging into his flesh, and I could see the pain in his eyes, though his face remained composed and stoic. Letting go of him, I turned on my heel and stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind me. I need to go for a run. Leaping forward, I shifted in midair and took off, sprinting on all fours as the wind rippled through my fur. It was cloudy for once. Light rained reeling from the sky like a leaky faucet. It wasn't enough to soak me, but just enough for me to notice its presence and be slightly agitated by it. Of course, the rain isn't the only thing pissing me off right now. Why can't Luke just fucking get over himself and deal with it? 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐧𝐻, my mate. I love her, and she's here to stay. She's changed her ways. I know it. My sense of smell guided me through the forest until I ended up off territory, several miles out in no man's land. There was nothing but tall redwoods to be seen for acres, that is, if you didn't look closely, weaving through the lanky trunks of the trees. I made my way through the thickest of foliage, a few thorns embedding themselves in my side, before coming up to a small clearing with a little brown log cabin sitting quaintly in the middle of it. I stood there for a while, admiring it. Smoke puffed out of the small and crooked chimney near the back, and the whole area smelled like chocolate chip cookies and deer, although that wasn't necessarily surprising. I took in the smells, my mind wandering back to her. Always back to her. This scent used to be my favorite, but now all I can think of is how 𝐊𝐲 smells so much better. How she's so much warmer and inviting than the rustic cabin in front of me, the one that I knew so well and will always know. The nagging voice at the back of my mind, who sounded awfully similar to Luke, told me that I really didn't know 𝐊𝐲. Don't get me wrong. I know who she is, but I don't know her, if that makes sense. I know her eyes squint when she laughs, and she usually throws her head back too. She likes to wear summery dresses and have her hair curled, but she braids it a lot too. Her favorite junk food is pizza, but she actually likes eating salads too. She was the best hunter, known as Artemis, but now she's not. She stopped for me, or at least, that's what I'm led to believe. The door to the cabin opened and a familiar old woman stood there, her wispy white hair pulled into a bun. She beckoned me with one hand, the other holding clothes that were undoubtedly for me. Padding over to her, I accepted the clothes and shifted, pulling on the sweatpants and t-shirt. Looking into her eyes, I could see the sadness enveloped in them as she looked upon me. My dear boy, what's wrong? Sighing, I pulled her in for a hug. I have a problem. Gran. Chapter 33, 𝐊𝐲. I opened the front door quietly, praying that everyone was busy and wouldn't notice my stealthy entrance. Of course, no such luck. Where the hell have you been? David demanded of me almost immediately, waiting in the foyer for me with a handful of other hunters, including a smug-looking Joel. Sighing, I ran my hand through my hair and crossed my arms over my chest. Listen, I just needed to take a beat and catch my breath. It's been nothing but chaos here for, like, the past couple weeks. Excuse me if I just wanted to get out for a little bit. Whatever, David said, although his eyes remained narrowed into slits as he stared at me skeptically. We're all going out to get a lay of the land, and you're going to lead us. Shit. I walked forward, making my way to the stairs. Why do I have to get a lay of the land? I've been hunting here for a couple months already. I'm fine. Well, sugar, we need you to show us where to go and where not to go. A hillbilly-looking hunter stated. He gave me a once-over with his eyes and me not to fully gag and barf all over him at that, forcing the lump down my throat. I continued upstairs, but Joel's voice forced me to freeze when I was halfway up there. Where are you going? To get ready, I stated without looking back, and I continued up the stairs at a normal pace. Once I got into my room, I locked the door behind me and pulled out my phone, immediately texting, "Stay inside tonight. All of you." Quickly powering my phone down, I stuffed it in a shoebox in the closet and changed into my hunting gear, spraying the odorless perfume on myself, though not necessarily as heavily as I normally would. Braiding my hair, I grabbed my quiver and bow from its shelf and holstered a few knives on my body for decoration. Taking in one last deep breath, I unlocked my door and opened it, slowly descending down the stairs. "About damn time," one of the men grumbled, and I shot him a menacing look. "Just be glad I'm doing this at all." Without saying another word, I opened the back door and stepped out, pacing it through the backyard and into the trees. I was almost immediately followed by the pack of 20 or so men. Gee, that's not suspicious at all. Each and every one of them followed my every move and unnerved me. I didn't like being watched, and I especially didn't like being watched closely by so many people. Not that it made me feel self-conscious or insecure, but rather uneasy, as though I'm susceptible to an attack at any moment. The patting of paws reached my ears and I hesitated, knowing that soon the rest of the men would hear it too. Covering up my misstep, I coughed softly into my elbow. If anything, it would be a warning to the wolf nearby. They aren't alone. David stepped up right behind me, grabbing my elbow tightly. He yelled at me in a whisper. What the hell was that? There was something in my throat, I stated lowly, gritting the words through my teeth. Now let go of me. Reluctantly, he released my arm and I continued leading them forward, until I saw what I had been dreading in front of me, dropping to a crouch on instinct. I stared at the dirty blonde wolf in front of us. It was average size, no one of any major importance to the infrastructure of the pack, but still, it was a member of Chase's pack, and it was going to die now. Looking back, I saw the men were all in a crouch as well, staring at me expectantly. They wanted to see what Artemis was capable of. Joel nudged me from my left side. Well, we're waiting. We all want to see if you're as good as you claim to be. Rolling my eyes, I pulled out my bow and notched an arrow in it before slowly rising and moving silently through the trees, keeping the wolf in sight. My aim was set on its head, the middle right in the brain. Make it quick and painless. Don't let it suffer. Just as I thought that, the wolf perked its head up, looking in my direction. It must have caught my scent. Now or never. Drawing the string back, I breathed before releasing my fingers, watching the arrow fly before hearing and seeing it hit its mark perfectly with a sickening thud. The wolf didn't even have time to howl or whimper before it was dead. Just after it seemed like Chase and I would be in a good place, as well as with the rest of the pack. I had to go and do something like this. The men behind me cheered, jumping up and charging at the wolf, taking their knives to it and skinning it, rolling the fur pelt from its body. They would undoubtedly take the meat as well. Disgusting pigs, and they call the wolves the savages. I remained in the same position, watching their animalistic ferocity come to life as they all but butchered the poor wolf. There would be nothing left to bury. David came up beside me. You look appalled. I am, I stated simply, before turning and making my way back to the house. I climbed up the steps slowly and entered my room, closing the door behind me. Jumping, I stifled a scream by clamping my hand over my mouth as I took in the sight in front of me. Chase stood there, a furious expression on his face. Dropping my bow, I closed my eyes. I deserve what's coming to me. Chapter 34. Grant smiled at me from across the table. Tell me what's wrong, boy. I sighed, taking us the coffee she made for me. It's my mate. At this her eyebrows rose and she smacked me across the table. Chase Edison Morgan. You found your mate and didn't tell me immediately. How dare you? I'm fuming and beyond furious at the moment. Oh, give him a break. Dear 𝐊𝐢𝐧𝐠. Pops came into the room, kissing her temple. H is an alpha. He has many responsibilities to take care of other than telling you about his mate. Thanks, Pops. I smiled at him. He sat down next to Gran. Now that that's out of the way, tell us everything about her. I chuckled. Well, wit. Her name's 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐧𝐰. She just moved here a couple months ago. She has really pretty brown hair and eyes to match. She's funny and has a laugh that sounds like angels singing. She's almost completely perfect. Almost. Gran questioned, sighing. I took another sip of coffee. She's also Artemis, the huntress. Upon hearing that news, the two of them gasped at the same time. Gran frowned and reached out, offering me her hand. I accepted and she smiled sadly. It sounds to me like you love her. My boy. I do. I nodded. I really do. But half of the pack hates her still for what she did. I mean, she killed my pack members. What am I supposed to do with that? If I caught anyone else who had even harmed a pack member, I would have killed them on the spot. 𝐊𝐤 is everything Ivy ever wanted. But she's killed people in the pack that she's destined to be 𝐊𝐤𝐬𝐷. I just don't know how we're supposed to move past this. Is she done hunting? Pops asked. I nodded. Yeah, she's been helping us with the hunters' plans. They're bringing every available hunter to take us down. Apparently, it's going to be an all-out war. Then all you have to do is prove to your pack that she is on your side. As your mate in 𝐿𝐤𝐬. Gran squeezed my hand reassuringly. Now, you obviously are aware that I must meet this 𝐊𝐤𝐬 as soon as possible. She sounds like a sweet girl, other than her murderous tendencies. I laughed at that. She is. She's really great. Pops chuckled. Boy, you are in deep with this girl. I don't see any problem with that, Gran stated, pulling her hand away from mine as she turned to look at her mate and husband. They began bantering and I smiled at them in adoration. They've been together so long, and yet they're still so in love. It's the mate bond, I suppose. Although there was definitely an element of just being together for a long time and learning to live with and love each other. At the same time, they made me sad. Gran looked just like an older version of my mother. And every time I see her, I just think of my parents' murder every time. Maybe that's why I ought come down here as much as I should. Because as much as I love the two of them, it hurts too much. Way too much. Just as I was about to speak up, my phone vibrated and I checked the text that I had received from 𝐊𝐤𝐬𝐿. Stay inside. All of you. Furrowing my brows, I texted her back and noticed that none of them were delivering. She must have shut her phone off. Calling Luke. I sighed in relief when he answered almost right away. Hello. Luke. It's me. Listen. I just got a text from 𝐊𝐤𝐬𝐿 telling me to keep everyone inside. I need you to let everyone know that we're going on lockdown for the night. Say it's a drill, but it's imperative for them to follow instruction. It'll be there soon. Got it. He answered and I hung up the phone, looking up to a concerned Gran and Pops. I smiled and stood up. Duty calls. Giving them both hugs. A peck on the cheek for Gran and a promise to bring 𝐊𝐤𝐬𝐿 over soon. I took off from the house, running back down the familiar path to my territory. My nose found them before my eyes did. Even though I was in wolf form, I could still smell the hunters, or rather, the lack of scent. I could also smell a hint of 𝐊𝐤𝐬𝐿. She must have not put on enough spray, a warning to me. Perhaps. Creeping slowly through the trees, I swore internally as I took in the sight before me. 𝐊𝐤𝐬𝐿 stood hidden in the bushes, arrow drawn and aimed at a wolf. The stench told me it was a rogue, most likely taking an advantage of the lockdown and lack of patrol of the territory. Looking at 𝐊𝐤𝐬𝐿's face, I could see the struggle in her eyes as she stared at the wolf in front of her. There were probably 20 or so men behind her, all in a crouch and watching. Then 𝐊𝐤𝐳𝐽. Suddenly, she released the arrow and it hit its mark perfectly, dropping the wolf in seconds. She killed a wolf. She didn't change at all. Keeping my growl at bay, I snuck off as the men cheered and began attacking the wolf with their knives. Running full sprint, I made it to her house in no time, easily swinging myself up to the second floor and through the window into her room. Somehow, despite my anger with her, her scent in the bedroom calmed me, eased my anger. Clenching and unclenching my fists, I looked up with anger in my eyes as she threw the door open and shut it behind her, locking it. When she turned around, it was obvious that she hadn't noticed me at first as she jumped, dropping her bow to the ground. Closing her eyes, I stared at her in a mixture of anger and confusion. Peeling them open, she spoke hoarsely to me. "I'm guessing you're pretty angry with me." She lied about not hunting anymore. "I'm a little more than angry." "𝐊𝐢𝐬," I growled. 𝐊𝐢𝐬 nodded. Okay. So let's settle this. Then, I nodded in agreement. My fists clenched. "Let's." Chapter 35 𝐊𝐢𝐬. He stalked towards me, grabbing my wrists in both hands. "I thought you said you were done hunting." "I was," I exclaimed. Chase let out a humorless laugh. "Then why the fuck did I see you shooting an arrow into the skull of that wolf out there?" I nearly choked. "You don't understand. I didn't want to. I really didn't. I had to throw off suspicion. They were already skeptical when I got home. If I didn't, they would have figured it out and killed me, and then you. How do you expect me to believe you? I trusted you, fuck. I defended you to everyone. And then I come back to see what's going on after you sent out that 𝐊𝐢𝐳𝐷 𝐾𝐻 still killing my kind." He roared, his grip tightening, ripping my arms from him. I shoved him back and my voice became shaky. "I don't know what you want me to say, but I told you I had to do it. If I didn't, they would never trust me, and then I wouldn't learn anything to pass on information to you. Maybe I don't want your information then if you're still killing wolves," he exclaimed, and then his voice softened. "Maybe I don't even want you." My breath hitched. "You don't mean that." "Sure," he mused. "Just like you didn't mean to kill any wolves ever. Because you're the sweet innocent little 𝐊𝐢𝐬, my mate, and you would never do anything to hurt me or the pack. You sound just like Luke." I spat at him. His eyes narrowed and he looked at me with an expression that seemed so foreign coming from him. Disgust. "Maybe I should have listened to him when he told me to just put you down. You still can." I bit. "So what's stopping you?" "Nothing," he growled, charging towards me. My body slammed against the door behind me as he closed his hand around my throat, although I could tell he was definitely holding himself back, taking my elbows. I knocked his arm so that he lost his grip and I bent him down as I brought my knee up, coming into contact with his stomach. He wheezed in pain and came back up, backhanding me across the cheek. I could taste blood in my mouth and I spit, looking down to see red on the white carpet. Standing back up, I faced him, my hands at the ready and clenched into fist. "Don't do this, 𝐊𝐢𝐬. You're going to lose," he warned me. I rolled my eyes. "Like you care." With that, I started forward, kicking him in the chest, and he stumbled backwards, but caught himself before he fell. He growled, readying himself in a fighting stance. "There's no need to be a bitch about it." "Hails. Wrong thing to say." I yelled, charging at him and punching left and right, going back and forth between the stomach and face. He blocked most of them, but I landed enough hits to draw blood and leave bruises. The son of a bitch deserves them right now. "Fight back," I screamed, sick of just punching and him blocking. I went to kick him again, but he threw me off and across the room, where I slammed through the door and into the hallway. He stalked over to me and straddled me, wrapping his claws around my neck. His eyes were dark, almost black, and I knew that meant he was barely keeping his wolf at bay. I told you. 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐬, you aren't going to win this." Through gasps of air I managed to croak out, "Fuck you." He smirked. "You can anytime you want." "Babe." I wriggled underneath him, trying everything I know to get him off of me, but to no avail. His grip remained like steel on my neck as I struggled. I could feel the blood in my face, and my throat was only tightening more and more. My vision grew blurrier and blurrier with every passing moment. My strength was failing me, and I could only hope to sway him to let go as I pushed at his face. A murderous look came across his face. I could see it through the haze, and it was completely terrifying. "You killed my people," he screamed, through what seemed to be tears as his hold on me remained. "You killed them, 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐬, and you're my goddamn mate. And then you killed that rogue, which only proved you aren't done hunting." I squeezed his wrists with the strength I had remaining, and he looked into my eyes. his tears dropping down onto my cheeks, meshing in with my own. Slowly, his grip loosened and he swung his legs off of me. I flipped over, coughing and gasping for air, sputtering as I did so. Despite the pain and the struggle for air, his words stuck in my mind. I looked at him with a venomous gaze. It was a rogue. His face dropped as the words came out of my mouth. Clearly, he hadn't intended on letting me know that bit of information. Finally, he muttered a small yes. If I could raise my voice above a raspy whisper, I would be screaming at him right now, demanding why he was so angry when in fact I had only eliminated someone who had posed as an enemy to his pack. I practically helped him by killing that rogue. Rising to a stand, I made my way back into my room and was going to tell him to get out when I saw a car pulling into the driveway. Swearing, I rushed into the closet and pulled my phone out of its box, slipping it in my back pocket, grabbing my bell from the ground where I dropped it. I began the climb out the window and looked back at Chase, who was standing in the middle of the room. "Are you coming?" I made my way down the side of the house and dropped the last 10 feet down to the ground and looked back up to see Chase jump right from the window. Grabbing his hand, I took off running in the direction of his house. There was no way I could explain the damage in my room, not without them realizing it was a werewolf attack. And if I didn't have a body and said 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐧𝐰, they would have seen me as weak. The voices of all the means shouting grew louder and I began panicking. Chase swore and then swept me off my feet, literally. Carried me bridal style, before taking off into a sprint back to his house. We didn't stop until we reached the bottom of his driveway, where he set me down and began to catch his breath. We entered the house, and I was relieved to see that no one was in there. Making our way up to his room, I sat on the edge of his bed as he walked into the bathroom to clean the blood off his face. He walked back into the room and I sighed, croaking out through my raw throat. "I think we should try to have a civil conversation about this." "Yeah." He nodded. "We probably should." Chapter 36. I looked over at Haley, trying to figure out where we should even begin. I had just nearly killed her for fuck's sake. What is wrong with me? Trying to kill my own mate. She turned to look at me, her eyes watering, but my gaze was focused on her bruised neck. "I'm sorry. Chase, I know I said I was done hunting, but 𝐊𝐤 did not kill that wolf. They expected to see the great and powerful Artemis, and if I didn't they would have all turned against me and it would have been so bad." "Chase, hey, it's okay," I whispered, pulling her in and wrapping my arms around her. "If anyone should be apologizing, it's me. I completely overreacted and it was a rogue, not even a member of my pack. I was in the wrong here. Haley, not you." She gripped my shirt tightly in both hands, sobbing. "I didn't want to kill that wolf. Chase, all I could think of the whole time is how much you would hate me for it." And I was right. Grabbing her wrist slightly, I pulled back and lifted her chin to look into my eyes, even with tears running down her face and makeup smudged under her eyes. She was still absolutely breathtakingly beautiful. "Haley, listen to me. I could never hate you. Ever. What I just did to you is absolutely out of line, and I swear to you it will never happen again. I don't ever want to hurt you." Taking me by surprise, she leaned up and kissed me, wrapping her arms around my neck. It was soft and gentle, but it meant the world. It meant forgiveness and trust, the beginning of a new relationship between us, stronger than it was before. "I promise I won't kill any more wolves," she whispered, her forehead pressed against mine. I smiled. "And I promise I won't ever let anyone hurt you, including myself." She let out a light laugh and sniffled, tear stains running down her cheeks. I wiped them away the best I could with my thumbs, taking in her beauty as I did so. How on earth did I get so lucky to have this specimen of perfection as a mate? Honestly, it was almost cruel to give me someone so amazing and, well, pure, even if she had red in her ledger. Her heart was pure and that's all that matters to me. "What are you thinking about?" she asked. Curiosity etched on my face. Tilting my head, I smiled, just wondering how a guy like me got so lucky with a girl like you. If anyone's the lucky one here, it's me. She shook her head while smiling. The smile slowly slipped off her face. You helped me see the truth, Chase. If it was for you, I would still be a murderer right now, killing innocent werewolves, innocent people. I don't know how I could have been so blind before you. You weren't blind. 𝐊𝐬𝐧𝐬, I whispered, circling around so I was kneeling in front of her, holding both of her hands in my own. You just had your eyes closed, and when we met, they started to open. She nodded. They're wide open now. I leaned forward, pressing my lips against her forehead. Come on. Let's go downstairs and get something to eat. We can come up with a plan later. I made my way down to the kitchen, 𝐊𝐲 in tow, only to find Lily waiting with an angry expression on her face. What's wrong? I questioned. She rolled her eyes. You're the alpha of this pack and you don't even know yet. Some helicopter just landed in 𝐊𝐲's backyard. The hunters were making a huge deal out of it, and some guy got out and they were all bowing to him. They all looked scared shitless. First of all, I started. Why the hell were you out in the woods? I called for a lockdown. Second of all, 𝐊𝐲, any ideas? 𝐊𝐲 nodded, biting her lip as she thought, and if I didn't have as much self-control as I do, I would have taken her right there. It's the chief. It has to be. The big boss that no one really thinks is real. He had a scar. Lily piped up, 3 claw marks running down the side of his face. Let's make it 6th. I growled out. I have to go back. I have to go back. 𝐊𝐲 stated, earning a second growl from my chest. To which she huffed. Listen, I can get more information. I know I can. I just need to go back. You can't. It'll be too suspicious. Lily chimed in once more. They were all spooked about the disaster you made in your room. Half of them think you're dead. The other half think we're using you as leverage. I mused over this information. 𝐾𝐞𝐬 and go back. That much was clear. But we needed to know when they would come. We have to be ready when they do. I'll call Luke. 𝐊𝐲, you need to tell us everything you know about the hunters. When you think they'll attack. Where they'll do it and what we can do to win. I walked over to her, cupping her bruised cheek in my hand, guilt washing over me again as I took in the injuries that I inflicted. 𝐊𝐲 frowned. Well, that's the easy part. They'll strike as soon as possible. And now that the chief is here and I'm missing, they won't wait or hesitate. So what are you saying? Lily asked. I cowled in stomach, verbalizing the question myself. I'm saying, they'll come tonight. Luke stormed into the house, immediately finding us in the kitchen. If they're coming tonight, we're in deep shit. I ignored his negative input. Where? She sighed. I mapped out some areas before. They'll go there, where they know, and they'll use every advantage they can get. Come on. I motioned to all of them to follow me upstairs and into my office, where I pulled out maps of our territory, laying them flat on my desk. Which areas did you map out? Taking the red marker from my hand, she circled 3 distinct spots on the map. They were heavily wooded areas with flat ground. They'll hide in the trees. Try to take you out using arrows and guns first. Then, when they weed out enough, they'll scale down and take out their knives and even swords. It's medieval and brute. Nothing nice about it. They'll try and take most of you out tonight and wait a couple days for you to lick your wounds. She spoke with such confidence. I could understand why the moon goddess would destine her to be my Luna. Then they'll strike again. They'll strike so hard there'll be nothing left except smoke and ashen bones. That's not going to happen. I growled out. And Luke and Lily both growled as well, nodding in fierce agreement. 𝐊𝐲 smiled, placing a gentle hand on my shoulder. I know. We just need to come up with a plan now. Luke stepped in, a calculating look on his face. I might have an idea. Chapter 37. It was time. I could feel it in the air, like a hum of energy flowing through everyone, including myself. I sat next to Chase on his bed, my head leaning on his shoulder. He was undoubtedly running through the plan in his head again. I still don't like it, he finally stated. I ran a hand across his chest and turned his face towards mine, my hand gripping his chin. "It'll be fine. You need to relax and have a little faith. It's a good plan, and they won't expect it." He frowned. "I thought you said you're trained to expect everything." "Not this," I stated firmly, placing a feather-like kiss on his lips. "Trust me, we'll be okay. We'll make it through this." He pulled me over so that I was straddling him, and he looked up at me with concern written all over his face. "God, I hope so." Leaning forward, I rested my head against his chest with my arm snaked around his torso. Chase laid his head on my own, and I could feel his jaw clench and unclench as the nerves began to settle in. I was sure they would be present all night. The plan rolled into my own mind, and I began to think of all the possibilities of everything that could go wrong and what to do if it happens. If David turns on me, or if Joel does. I'll be ready for it. I have to be. I began mentally preparing myself to face the Hunters. They wouldn't be happy about my switching sides at all. They'll try to kill me, no doubt. They wouldn't want me ruining the Branter, and I wouldn't let them kill me. Tonight's message would be made perfectly clear. It's either kill or be killed, and I would prefer not to be killed just yet. Chase lifted my chin up and met my lips with his. It was a soft kiss at first, but I quickly turned ravenous and needy, as though nothing could sash at our hunger but each other's lips. It was exhilarating and addicting. All I knew was that I wanted and needed more. His lips left mine as began railing down my jaw and to my neck, where they lingered on a particularly sensitive spot. I let out a slight moan as he sucked on it, and I could feel his teeth grazing the skin. Chase pulled back and looked down at me. Haley, I want to mark you. Right now." I nodded while biting my lip before tilting my head slightly, giving him easier access. "Then do it." He kissed it once more before sinking his canines into my flesh. A small yelp left my lips, but the pain soon subsided, leaving me with nothing but ecstasy and bliss as we were molded together, bonded into what felt like one person with two bodies, working as a mechanism. We pulled away from each other, and I looked into his eyes. He stared down at me in concern. "Are you okay? Does it hurt?" I smiled and kissed him. "I've never been better." He stood up with my legs around his waist and carried me into the bathroom, setting me on the counter next to the sink. Wetting a tissue, he wiped off the blood that had spilled out from my neck gently, kissing it a few more times. Once he was sure it was done bleeding and clean, we moved back to the bed in the same position we were in before. Once more, our lips attacked one another, but this felt so much different. It was just that I wanted him, but I needed him. It was as if I could feel everything he and I felt together, but it was multiplied tenfold. I couldn't even begin to describe the electric shocks I felt any time he touched me. I could feel it through our clothes, and I could definitely feel it when skin met skin. It was delectable, and he was my favorite flavor that I just couldn't quit. A knock at the door interrupted our little moment, and I moved from my position so that I was sitting rather than straddling him. We were both rather out of breath. The door swung open and Luke walked in, annoyance across his features. "It's time." We stood up and nodded. I pulled on my leather jacket and followed Chase downstairs, where a lot of people were waiting, including Lily and Luke, who were standing awfully close to one another. "Alpha, is this plan really going to work?" One man standing in the living room addressed Chase, worry in his voice. Chase's expression had hardened since the bedroom, and he faced the group of people with fierceness I had only seen in him once or twice before. "My brothers and sisters, listen to me now. We will not only survive through this fight, but we will thrive. We have a plan, a damn good one at that, and we will defeat the Hunters. They won't know what hit them until it's far too late. I ask for your trust and strength, and in return I will give you the best protection I can offer." The men and women cheered so loud it felt like 5 people were in the house rather than the actual 50 or so. Lily walked up to me, a knowing smile on her face, and hugged me, whispering in my ear, "Welcome to the family." Pulling away from her, I smiled. "Thanks. I guess it's time." Then, unfortunately, "Yes," she responded with a frown. Nodding, nodding. I faced her. Right, then, well, get the rope and hit me. She glanced at Chase, who nodded stoically, though I could tell it pained him to go through with this plan. And she turned back to me, raising her fist. It collided with my eye and I fell back, before standing back up. Remind me never to piss you off, I muttered before standing back up. It was already beginning to swell shut. She grabbed the rope and took my hand, but Chase stopped us before we could go. Be careful. Okay, we will, I promised, kissing his cheek before turning with Lily, grabbing my bow and quiver on the way out. My knives already strapped to my body, hiding under the black leather. We made our way to the trees just outside the closest area I had marked off, and I helped Lily throw the rope over a tree branch. She secured a knot around both of my ankles and hoisted me up, so that I was dangling in the air upside down. Good luck, 𝐊𝐢𝐬𝐬, she whispered, smiling, but I didn't miss the tears in her eyes. I smiled and winked at her. I won't need it. She turned and shifted into a blonde wolf before scampering off into the thick of the woods. Sighing, I tried not to think of all the blood rushing to my head as I waited to hear the sound of the hunters approaching the trap. Because, after all, I was the bait.